Hello, friends. Welcome to Bible Bites Daily. Today we have reached First Kings chapter 10. This tells the story of the Queen of Sheba's visit to King Solomon. This chapter is remarkable for the interaction between two powerful figures, but it carries a deeper spiritual lesson for us today. The importance of seeking true wisdom and recognizing its ultimate source in God. Through this narrative, we see how human wisdom and wealth are nothing compared to the greatness of God's wisdom. The chapter begins with the Queen of Sheba, a ruler of a distant land, hearing about the fame of Solomon and his wisdom. She comes to Jerusalem to test him with difficult questions. The queen brings with her a caravan of gifts, gold, spices, and precious stones, a sign of her wealth and status. But she is not just interested in Solomon's material wealth. She seeks to know the wisdom that he has made him so famous. When she arrives, she asks Solomon many questions, and Solomon answers them all. The Bible tells us that nothing was too hard for the king to explain to her. As she witnesses Solomon's wisdom, the grandeur of his palace, the food on his table, his officials, and even the burnt offerings he made at the temple, she is overwhelmed. She exclaims, "The report I heard in my own country was true, but I did not believe it until I came and saw with my own eyes. Indeed, not even half was told to me." The Queen of Sheba recognizes that Solomon's wisdom is not just human intelligence or cleverness. It is a gift from God. She blesses the Lord, saying, "Praise be to the Lord your God, who has delighted in you and placed you on the throne of Israel." The central lesson from First Kings chapter 10 is that true wisdom comes from God, and it is something to be sought with great care. The Queen of Sheba's journey to see Solomon is symbolic of the search for wisdom that every person is called to undertake. She did not rely on hearsay or rumors. She made the effort to seek the truth for herself, and when she found it, she acknowledged its divine source. This is a lesson for us today. We must seek God's wisdom earnestly with a heart that is open to recognize the source. Too often we chase after worldly wisdom, seeking knowledge, success, or recognition from human perspectives. But true wisdom, the kind that brings peace, direction, and eternal significance, comes only from God. Imagine that Queen of Sheba, a woman of power and wealth, preparing for her long journey to Israel. She had heard rumors of Solomon's wisdom, but she was skeptical. In her court, she was the one who held the answers. She was revered for her insight and leadership. Yet, something stirred in her heart, a desire to know if this King Solomon was truly as wise as people claimed. She packed her finest gifts, gold, spices, and jewels, items that symbolized her earthly wealth and power, but deep down she knew that what she sought couldn't be purchased with riches. She wanted to understand the source of Solomon's wisdom. Was it something she could obtain? Was it a secret technique or a philosophy, or was it something more? As the caravan approached Jerusalem, she was met with the splendor of Solomon's kingdom. She marveled at the city, but it wasn't until she met Solomon and began to ask her questions that she truly understood. Every question she asked was answered with such clarity and depth that she realized Solomon's wisdom was not of this world, it was from God. In that moment, the Queen of Sheba, a woman of great status, humbled herself and acknowledged the God of Israel as the true source of wisdom. She saw that all her riches and knowledge were nothing compared to the wisdom that comes from God. We are often like the Queen, searching for wisdom and meaning in all the wrong places. We may seek it in our careers, in academic achievements, or through worldly success. But no matter how much we achieve, we will always feel like something is missing if we do not turn to God for wisdom. God's wisdom is different from the wisdom of the world. It is pure, peace, and full of mercy. It guides us in our decisions, gives us understanding in times of confusion, and leads us on the path of righteousness. But just like the Queen of Sheba, we must seek it out. We must come to God with our questions, our doubts, and our uncertainties, knowing that He alone has the answers. Imagine what your life would look like if you sought God's wisdom in every area. How would your decisions change? How would your perspective shift? The Bible tells us that if we lack wisdom, we should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault. He is ready and willing to pour out His wisdom onto us, but we must humble ourselves and seek it. In this chapter, the value of seeking God's wisdom above all else, the Queen of Sheba's journey to see Solomon is a powerful example of how we must seek out the wisdom that only comes from God. Let us, like the Queen of Sheba, be willing to make the journey, whatever it takes, to seek God's wisdom. And when we find it, let us humble ourselves, acknowledging that it is not by our own strength or intellect, but by the grace and generosity of our loving Father. Thank you for joining us today. May God bless you all in abundance.